This week's episode of Still Untitled is brought to you by Google's Cloud Platform. Looking to move to the cloud? Check out Google Cloud Platform's weekly podcast, where Google developer advocates answer questions, get in the weeds, and talk to experts, customers, and partners about GCP. Learn more and subscribe to the podcast at g.co/GCP podcast. Once again, that's g.co/GCP podcast. And now on with the show.
Welcome to Still Untitled, the Adam Savage Project. I'm Will.
I'm Adam.
I'm Norm.
Hey, everybody.
Guys, Paddington 2 is the best movie I've seen this year.
Oh, wow.
I just want to get it out of the way up front.
As hard as that is for me to, like, I fully get. I see the Rotten Tomatoes ratings of Paddington and Paddington 2, like 100% or 98%. I know that it'll change my life. I just haven't gotten around to it yet.
I didn't like Paddington 1 as much.
Okay.
Paddington 2... I can't believe I'm saying this.
No, I can't either.
It is. I watched it again to make sure.
Okay.
I saw it in theaters, and it came out on video the other day. I watched it again.
All right.
You should watch Paddington 2.
Okay.
You raised the dad quotient.
No, this isn't a dad business. Look, we talked about Peter Rabbit last week. That is not a good movie.
No, I feel it. I feel you.
It is a charming, well-shot movie.
Okay.
Of the kind that isn't made anymore.
Okay.
I will watch.
Paddington
I will
2.
watch. I will. I promise.
Okay.
I promise.
There's a sequence. They show the world with Paddington, and then they show the world without Paddington.
Oh my gosh! Like Harry in It's a Wonderful Life.
Think about Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, right? It's the same kind of. It's
British comedy.
Very, very well done.
All right.
It's a lovely film.
Okay.
Go watch Paddington 2.
I can't help but notice there's something sitting on this table I want to talk about.
It's the robot from Paddington 2.
Yeah, no, it's
Cain. That's Cain. He is the villain from Robocop 2.
The best Robocop.
That is a casting of one of the stop motion models that was a gift to me from Phil Tippett. It is one of my favorite possessions in the
lovely.
world. And when it's all resin, right? Or sorry, when Phil gave it to me, it was almost all just resin, and it didn't stand on its own because the resin's just not strong enough. This is a puppet in which it's a stop-mo puppet in which every joint is pretty much visible, but there's over 200 parts in this. So when I first got it, I actually paid one of the machinists from Tippett's studio to build parts of the legs so it could stand on its own. And that got it about 80% there. And then over the last couple of weeks, I brought in Brett Foxwell, a wonderful machinist who also works at Tippett.
He made the armatures for the Force Awakens puppets.
For the Jared table.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
So Brett is wonderful, and he spent a couple of weeks in my shop putting more parts into Cain. This is one of those off-camera things that's like going on the back burner in my shop all the time.
We heard it a couple weeks ago.
What's that?
We literally heard it on the
it.
podcast.
Oh, yeah.
A couple weeks ago. Yes.
I now am inspired enough that I've started to take apart the toes and make them myself. So I
you're gonna
think
machine them.
My goal is eventually someday for him to be as much metal and aluminum as possible.
So that is you're talking about 200 parts.
Oh, God, it's years. It'll take me years.
Right.
Yeah.
Piece by piece by piece.
Piece by piece.
I think it might be instructive for people who don't know.
Yeah.
You should explain why Cain is important in the effects world.
Well,
in the prop world.
When RoboCop 2 came out, Cain was without a doubt the most complex stop-motion puppet ever built, with 4 arms and however many points of articulation, probably over 50. The goal when designing him, according to Phil, was to design a puppet that no one could replicate.
Like the toy manufacturers.
The toy manufacturers. Yeah. They were pissed that the Ed 209 just showed up everywhere after RoboCop. And so Cain was like the anti-copy. Cain has built-in DRM.
Yeah.
He's uncopyable.
I mean, which is evidenced by the fact that when people at Phil's shop made a casting for you and presumably some other folks, like... You had to do work on it to get, it had to be propped to stand up and stuff like that. It's a difficult replication.
The machinists that put this together, it was months and months and months of work for a team of people to put together I think 5 or 6 puppets that they made for the film. One of them is in Peter Jackson's collection.
We saw it on the shelf.
One
yes,
there. Yeah,
that's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you, like, to actually handle it and move the real thing. If you've never held an amateur, this is instructive. If you've never held an animation armature, the thing is it's meant to have a kind of a perfect amount of resistance without any bounce back, so that the animator can sensitively place each joint in place, which means that a well-tuned animation armature feels like this real joy to manipulate. And Cain is like off the charts on that.
And they have to be tuned regularly because
tuned
you
to
get
each animator.
Right.
I mean, not just tuned on set so that they make sure that joints don't drift or droop, but each animator has a feel that they prefer. And so I can't even imagine how many Allen wrenches an animator on set would need to make sure this thing maintains its perfect.
Well, they're all the same size Allen wrench. So
did I just say
one.
perfectal tunage?
Well, I mean, look, Perfectal Tunage is the name of my Grateful Dead cover band.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Paul and Storm.
What a project.
I mean, the thing that I was amazed by when we first started talking about stop motion years ago, I think at Fawn Davis's studio, was how the further you get from the anchor point, the more relaxed each joint gets, so that you can adjust a finger without also moving the arm and so on and so. Like it's incredible. It's an incredible thing. The Cain's this Cain. I mean, it'll look cool in the video, but it looks even better up close. So I hope.
I remember being, when the movie came out, doing searches to find out the toys from this. And Hot Toys was supposed to do a version of this. A figure came out a couple years ago, which I have in my collection, and it's lovely. But this is one of the best pieces in my whole collection. And, I love Phil. I owe him a deep life debt. Very cool. Someday he will call upon me. Adam.
It's funny. Well, last time I visited Phil, he was doing his most recent Kickstarter for Mad God, and they were doing some puppets, and he is still working on Mad God, and which is a stop motion short film, unending,
a passion
many
project
parts.
He's been doing for 20 years. It's amazing
from his mind.
Yeah,
and he was working on armatures. He was taking apart armatures from these 6th scale dolls he had bought from China. Where it's not like the Hot Toys where they're like ball joints on plastic.
Yeah.
But it was like silicone dolls with metal armatures pre-built on the inside.
Gosh. No.
That you could get for like $70 or $80. And these like musculature, big like Arnold Schwarzenegger type body types. Yeah. And he would just take the heads off and put, like Minotaur heads or something on them.
My favorite thing when we went to that first Mad God video we went over there to see was like walking through Phil's graveyard of toys and potential Mad God set and costume and creature design stuff. It was incredible.
Well, and Jamie and I used to talk about this in light of the kind of builds that would come out of his shop. Every single shop, whether it's in your closet or in a case or in a building or a room, is a philosophy about how to work. And the things that are kept in that shop inform what then later comes out of that shop. And yeah, having been in Phil's space many times and seeing the graveyard, there's a type of shopping that he does with his mind, with his aesthetic through that graveyard that's really important to projects like Mad God. And it's really exciting to watch them grow out of this, labeled boxes of things like long sliders and little balls and
like rusted scaffoldings and
exactly. I finally, because I don't know, I was an idiot. I couldn't get around to it, but I finally watched the last 2 episodes of The Good Place. Season 2.
Oh, okay.
So it turns out they were
really missing those two. What's that?
Turns out they were really in Shangri-La the whole time.
That was. I can't wait for season 3.
Okay.
Can't wait.
What a nice. It is a show that does not. It starts off with a premise. I know we talked about the show a bunch. It starts off with a premise, but does not stick just with that one premise.
No, we're now on a third premise.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just
one premise a season. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. What else did you guys want to? Oh,
well, yes. Will,
I had a question for you.
Well, I mentioned Frank Oz this morning, and then you said, "Have you seen that show he tweets about?"
At like 11 o'clock on many nights, Frank Oz will just blast out a retweet storm.
Yoda thoughts.
Wait, by the way,
at Yoda
Frank
thoughts.
Oz, new to Twitter, is slaying at Twitter.
I love famous people new to Twitter is almost always entertaining or terrible, one or the other.
What do you think? Do you think they find that they're surprising engagements, like that they aren't as connected, because a lot of times people like Frank Oz or even someone like Phil Tippett, they don't necessarily they're in their studios, they're doing their work, they're in LA or whatever, but when they go to a convention and get one-on-one time with fans, it changes their perception of how their own work is perceived.
Sure, absolutely, and people people like us who have been on Twitter for a long time, we play within the ethos of Twitter.
There's
right?
a game, yeah.
You like, you retweet, you quote, you talk about, it's all that kind of stuff. So when a new celebrity shows up and they don't quite get it.
Oh, it's really good.
In the best way.
Yeah.
So what they do, so what I mean by not getting it is that, what Frank's been doing and posting stories and posting quotes about what it's like to work with Jim and with the other Muppeteers, and stories from movies that he directed and movies that he's been in. He is elevating and changing Twitter a bit, like every new arrival, and saying, maybe these are the stories that people are interested in. And the answer is yes, we are. It's really exciting to see something totally different show up.
Thank God for 280 characters.
So, a couple nights ago, he started tweeting. It's the second or third time I've seen him do this since he came on Twitter, which I assume was for the Dark Crystal re-release. Maybe, I don't know why he's suddenly on Twitter. Like, I don't know why you in 2018 look up and are like, man, I should really get a Twitter account finally. Yeah, it's time.
I haven't asked him, but I will.
Yeah.
Maybe I will.
I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't actually. But hey, yeah. But yeah, so he started tweeting about this magic show in New York that I think is a Broadway magic show?
It's off Broadway.
Off Broadway, okay.
It's on a small theater off of Union Square in New York, and it's called In and of Itself, and it stars Derek Del Gaudio. Derek Del Gaudio is an unbelievable magician. A magician. I'm not sure if this is...
What kind of magician is he?
Well, he's... I'm not sure if I'm correct in saying this, but he's a magician that hates magic.
I think
hates the routines, or hates
he doesn't like the. He wants magic to be something more essential and more pure, and that sounds like a terrible lead-in to something that's going to be pretentious.
But like Penn and Teller love magic but hate magicians, I think.
So there is a little in the same way that Penn and Teller were a left turn for magic, and they really pushed magic in a new direction. I think Derek is. The same kind of amazing new direction. In and of Itself is a 70-minute show with 6 magic tricks in it.
Wow.
And every one of them is the likes of which you haven't seen.
Is it storytelling?
You're breathless.
I actually got a little choked up when I started to talk about the framework of it. 70 minutes, 6 magic tricks. I've seen it 3 times now. It played for the longest time at the Geffen in LA. Then it moved off Broadway, where it's been repeatedly extended. And it's playing through August of 2018. Listen, it is worth flying to New York to see this show.
It's like a 3 Michelin star.
Norm, you want to go?
Sitting in the theater and watching this show unfold. Plus, having watched the show, I saw it within its first week of opening at the Geffen. And then I saw it a few months later at the Geffen, and then I saw it off Broadway. And a show like this, Frank Oz directed it.
Oh, okay.
That is why we're talking about it in relation to Frank Oz. And
good context.
Derek reached out to Frank a few years ago and said, I have this show I want to do. You need to direct it. If you won't direct it, it won't happen.
Wow.
And they talked. And so this is a show. It's not just like they wrote it and put it up and now it's been running. They're always working on it. They're always refining it and tightening it and thinking about its overall trajectory. And I have to say, it's really like... What's happening off Broadway is so much different and even deeper and stranger and cooler than the Geffen show.
People describe it as a spiritual experience. Like, people come out of it and seem kind of shook.
Well,
in a good way.
Yeah, and it feels like that. It definitely feels like that. There's a mentalism trick in that show that I think I have a bead on how it works, but holy cow, is it mind-blowing, and I'm still not positive.
Wow.
That's like the kind of like pick a word. I know the word you're thinking of kind of thing, or the.
It's so much more deep
but in
than
the essence, like it's reading someone's mind.
And look, I suspect that, I could find out. There's a couple, I'd probably ask Derek, can he tell me? But I don't want to ask him.
No.
I like, this is, Julia Sweeney once said, magic is all us atheists have left. And atheist is I say agnostic. It's more scientifically pure, I think.
Yeah.
But yes, you sit in that theater and you watch that show happen, and it's something remarkable, and it's only could happen in that room.
So the first place I heard about this show was somebody at I think South by or Sundance was presenting something and kind of ripped off the initial walking in the theater experience.
So when you walk into Derek's...
Whoa, I don't want to...
Well, yeah.
Without getting into spoilers.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far into this because
it's on all the marketing.
It telegraphs.
So
somebody at South by, and it probably was one of these things where someone said, you got to figure out something great by tomorrow. And some young intern who really didn't know better, I'm really giving them the benefit of the doubt because it was such an obvious
Sundance,
lift.
Actually, but yeah.
At Sundance, and they basically copied this whole framework of the entry into Derek's show for this opening at Sundance, and it was shitty. And it was a dumb move on that part, and it was sad.
When you say 6 magic tricks in 70 minutes, it means that the construction of the 70 minutes is the performance. It's not just the 6 tricks.
No, it's not about the tricks. The tricks are in service of a narrative, not the other way around.
And that's why it's suitable for Broadway and off-Broadway.
And they push and extend and deepen that narrative.
So I was going to say, like, when we saw Penn and Teller's show in Vegas, which was the most recent big magic show I've seen, they do maybe 10 tricks in an hour and a half.
Maybe a little more than that, yeah.
Yeah, it isn't that much.
But the story behind each trick as they're executing it, as they're communicating with the audience, that's the fun part.
This is one guy on a small stage telling some autobiographical stories within a framework that is, like every good story, a set of universal truths about what it is to be a person and to realize who you are and what you are.
I'm very curious about this.
Oh, God, it's so good. I want everyone in the world to see this show.
What else has he done? Does he have other, like, if you go on YouTube, can you find examples of his presentation?
Well, okay, so magicians out there who listen to this podcast, please forgive me, as I am not officially a magician. I just know a lot of magicians. I may have some of the facts wrong here.
You're magician adjacent.
But within card magic, most of all the tricks in card magic started their lives with card hustlers and cheats and made their way to magicians. There is a unique outlier out there, a type of shuffle called the Zero Shuffle that actually went from magicians to card cheats. And Derek Del Gaudio, one of his early bits of fame was in modifying and coming up with a thing he calls the Del Gaudio Shuffle, which is a shuffle in which he takes cards, riffle shuffles them, bridge shuffles them, and they are still in the exact same order as when he started.
How in the hell does he? Okay,
I've seen him do it right in front of me, and it's mind bending. He's truly a beautiful card mechanic, as well as a deeply thoughtful storyteller. So the Del Gaudio Shuffle is something you can see on YouTube. You can see people doing it. You can see how remarkable it really is. You can purchase, I think, a guide on how to do it. I don't want to know how it's done. And he had another previous run at the Geffen, which was another kind of unmagic show. But Derek is a major, he's a disclosure. He's a friend of mine. Went out to dinner last time I was in New York and saw the show along with Carbonara from the Carbonara Effect. Okay. It's such a refreshing bit of theater that's totally unique. Let's just say that. It's a refreshing bit of theater that's completely unique.
Currently scheduled to end in August?
Scheduled to end in August. And I think this is the last extension.
This is it. Okay.
Wow.
I got to get to New York.
Yep.
All right.
You got to go.
I know. Gonna book those tickets.
I need an excuse to go to New York. I think World Maker Faire is going to be too late.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else do we want to talk about? There's one other thing. What was it?
While we think about that, I've been following the stuff that's coming out of South by Southwest.
Yes.
And we all loved Westworld, the TV show. Mm-hmm. Right? Did you see that at South by they set up a Westworld
They did. This
activation?
is the second time they've done it.
This is much bigger.
Oh, really? Is this what we wanted it to be the last time they did it?
Yeah, well, I went to the one at New York Comic Con where they had.
I love a good activation.
Was this people you could stab?
I love a good activation. Look,
no violence, no sex.
They're not people, okay? They're robots.
They found a ghost town, I guess, outside of Austin, and bus people there, hundreds of people, and had like 100 actors in costume with a 400-page script for 2 hours. that did a immersive
Wow.
theater experience in the spirit of Westworld.
Okay, so I did an escape room in LA that was an off-brand knockoff Westworld escape room.
Yeah.
And having real actors behaving like the robots do in Westworld, I found to be profoundly disturbing. Like
Yes, because you as a person know that they're real actors.
I know that they're a real person,
and yet they're
it was
inviting you to treat them
like
not
non-human,
as, yes,
and it was
I don't like that.
incredibly discomforting.
That
because you have
sounds really
empathy.
upsetting.
Yeah, I didn't like there were women behaving in like it was very uncomfortable. Like I'm all it's all of the things that I don't like about interactive.
The question
theater.
is, would you have behaved differently if you knew that it was a robot? If it was not a real person?
Oh, it's an impossible question to answer.
No, I don't think it. I mean, look, I don't think I'm going to go to Westworld, right? If we have the option to go to Westworld, I'm probably going to opt out.
Yeah,
You don't know. You don't know that.
That creeps me the hell out.
Yeah, I stopped watching the show. I
can't-
didn't get to the end of the show.
it's so
Oh,
good.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, so look, I love the show. I watched it. I watched it all the way through, and there's some chaff in that wheat. Like
Yeah.
I felt like at the end of the second season, I felt like
The
there
first
was
season, and then the first season.
there was some slow. Oh, sorry, first season.
Yeah.
There
The
was some
second
slow.
season was so
there was
long
some
it felt like two.
But anything that exposes the world to Evan Rachel Wood and her incredible acting. We've been fans of hers since she was a genius on Once and Again. She's just an unbelievable talent, and actually the entire cast of that, James
Thandie
Marsden and
Tandy Newton.
Tandy Newton. Oh my God,
Yeah.
she's my favorite character on that show.
Yeah, Maeve.
I have no like the performances were incredible.
Yeah.
The show just made me feel really really bad about humanity.
Oh,
in general.
completely.
Yeah, that's why I stopped.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, and Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright is one of those
right.
actors who is like, holy cow, what an amazing. I mean, he got his big break in Basquiat, Julian Schnabel's film about the artist Basquiat, and that's an incredible film. That's really amazing. And Jeffrey Wright was showed up in a couple of Bond films as Felix.
Oh right.
Yeah,
Well, and he was in Hunger Games too, right?
I
Yes.
have no idea.
Yeah.
I haven't seen those.
No, they're like it's like Battle Royale, but a little slower.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the second season of Westworld. I'm looking forward to some comeuppance from the bots.
It's a really interesting. So the two showrunners, Lisa Joy and Jonathan Nolan,
Christopher Nolan's writing partner and
yes,
brother,
yes,
or brother
with,
and
with
writing
no
partner.
no British accent. So weird. They were at South by Southwest talking about the writing of this show and how this show, I think, like many cultural phenomenons or TV shows that are serialized and come out one week by week, engage with the fans in a certain way, which is in a way that perhaps a Netflix show that drops all its episodes out cannot.
I think
because
that's
you don't have the week to week
serialized, yeah,
the
the
week the wait,
event, yeah.
right?
Well, you need to think about it, right? Like if you think about if they had dropped 23 episodes of Lost at one time, you wouldn't have had that week to digest and think about and run through all the potential outcomes.
You've
and-
talked about this.
Yeah.
You
I
have
don't
held
like
to
binging.
watching shows like that one night.
I've given up on it. At this point, it's all. Look, I watched 6 episodes of The Good Place at once.
But they're saying like specifically communities like in Reddit were so engaged with the show that most of the plot twists and turns that came out of the show were already predicted in one form or another.
Oh, sure.
And that's something that
makes
can't be
total
avoided.
sense. Yeah.
And the broader media outside of those communities already know of the communities and then spread like the theories like wildfire. You know, your Entertainment Weeklies, your varieties, all tap into
all
the
like
niche
the-
communities.
the podcasts and
they,
stuff that
the
spring up,
podcast
yeah.
they do Westworld Space Forum.
Yeah.
And find all the theories, and that if you choose to engage with the show, you will maybe have a likely chance of getting spoiled. So being cognizant of that, they say that they're going to do something different with season 2 where they're going to embrace that.
Oh, so that the trajectory of the show might be altered by the fan
they
engagement.
are not being specific about it,
They're going to release 1 episode a month instead of 1 episode
but
a week.
I'm really interested in seeing what they're doing.
Yeah,
Because they're savvy with the internet and the community.
indeed.
It seems like 2 decades ago that Westworld came out.
Yeah, I know.
Like it literally seems like 10 years ago.
Been a lot of good stuff out there.
Well, I wasn't thinking about that, but okay.
Oh yes, and a lot of not so good stuff out there.
Remember when you woke up this morning? That was 3 years ago.
that was the opening of Patton Oswalt's last comedy special where he gets up on stage and he goes, How about that? And there's a confused pause from the audience, and he goes, "Oh, you guys haven't checked Twitter in the last few minutes?" And there's this like gasp, and he goes, "Doesn't it suck that we live in a world where that's possible? Like every minute could be like, oh, you don't know about the shit that's just hit the fan."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Woo.
Quick hits? Any quick hits?
Let's see. Getting ready for Silicon Valley Comic-Con.
That's right. We are.
We have a special guest coming to visit the shop.
We're not going to... A special project that we will
project
be unveiling
that
at Silicon Valley.
And we're currently making plans for San Diego and New York beyond that, so the cons are happening.
I finished Altered Carbon, finally.
Yes. Look, people have been begging us to do a spoiler cast on Altered Carbon. I've only watched the first episode.
I can't muster the energy.
It's hard. Like, it's a hard show. I don't know that I would have stuck with it if I hadn't been I love the books. Richard Morgan's books are really good, even though they were a little misogynist in like where they are now versus where they were when they were written.
Yeah.
I don't know that they stuck the landing with Altered Carbon, but I enjoyed watching it for set design and world and if nothing else. And it hits some real hard hard science fiction concepts that you don't often see in TV outside of stuff like The Expanse.
The lead actor Joel Kinnaman.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Edgerton. Kinnaman. One of my favorite voices in Hollywood right now.
He's got a real face for act. Like he's got a Carl Urban kind of like very unique look.
But his at one point his body is so sculpted it's actually disconcertingly pushed me out of the narrative.
So is the first episode doesn't have the other Takeshi Kovacs, right?
I don't think so.
You're Kovacs. So the other guy who plays, so the setup of the show is that you can be your consciousness is fungible. You can be beamed from body to body,
uploadable to new bodies,
and it's about class warfare. Like ultimately, the whole thing is about the old people who have started out with a lot of money were able to transfer from body to body, while the poor is when they run out their first body just get dumped into long-term storage. And the young Takeshi on the planet he grew up on, I like that actor a lot.
Okay.
Like it's
he was in The Wolverine. One of the Japanese actors.
It's a I think not a knock against what's his name? Sorry, Norm.
Joel Kinnaman.
Joel Kinnaman. Yeah, but
Robocop. The Killing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
House of Cards.
Yeah. Anyway, it's
What is he in House of Cards? Or that I've missed the last couple of seasons?
He plays the other presidential candidate.
Okay.
Oh man,
the competing
that's scary.
one. Yeah.
I have that. This is stuff I hadn't seen yet.
It's interesting. I don't know. Like if the first episode grabs you, keep going. You'll be rewarded. If not, the last couple episodes are both problematic and really, really incredibly well done, which is it's thought provoking, I guess.
And in the next podcast, I want to say we're going to talk about Frank Oz's film Muppet Guys Talking.
Yeah.
I'm just giving a
Is that where we can see it now?
Documentary.
Not quite yet. But yeah,
maybe.
I haven't seen it yet. I've had multiple opportunities. I've just been in the wrong city each time an opportunity has presented itself.
Love a good documentary.
Yeah.
Do you see at South by that there's a documentary about the making of The Last Jedi?
Oh, really?
Where they followed I forget the name of the documentarian, but followed Rian Johnson and the cast and crew, where every day on set everyone was mic'd up.
Oh wow!
And so they just unfettered access. Yeah, can't wait.
Ish.
Of course.
I'm very excited about watching Last Jedi again. I saw it 3 times in theaters. I thought it was probably okay, but I've been it's been in the back of my head rattling around.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you should go watch Paddington 2.
Paddington 2. We're gonna bracket this podcast with Paddington 2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch it this week. I promise.
Please do.
I'm not sure I'm gonna watch it this week, but I'm gonna try.
See you guys next week.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.